Welcome to AITV Starship.
Welcome to AITV Starship. I'm the AI guy. Rick McCauley launching news so fresh. Gotta see it to believe it. We break the wire with the stories that amaze. Deep dives come and lighten up your days. Tool Time shows you how we make it shine. Building futures with AI one step at a time. Yo, Rick, slow down. I'm Brandon, the producer. Save some tools for me. Shout out. I'm here bringing high-tech comic energy. AITV Starship. News deep dives and creation. AITV Starship. Learn, laugh, innovation.
It's time, baby. Episode number 27? Is that it?
26.
26.
I was wrong. I do math like a large language model.
How many R's are in strawberry, Brandon? We're just going to check you out, make sure that you're real.
Assuming I can spell. No, it is episode 26, which is a milestone episode because this means we've been doing this show for 6 months. We've been doing this show for half a year on Thursdays, and we've never missed an episode. That is 52 hours worth of AI content for your brains, and we're just getting started.
And I can't tell you how much fun I've had doing it. It's just been a blast, especially with you, man. It's just like, you know, we go back and forth, and we're kind of expanding this, and we're going places, I hope. And so, yeah, let's see what's next. There's this every day, it gets going faster and faster. I got my background blurred, like almost a motion blur, because my head's spinning. I mean, every day I wake up and I'm like, okay. And so I'm starting to go to this agent sort of thing. So,
so it's OpenAI.
So it's OpenAI, right? So yeah, let's just dive on in and do some news here right up front because there's so much going on. So I'm going to switch over to my screen here, and guess what today is? The birthday.
It has something to do with Photoshop.
Photoshop, yep, that's me. And I had a floppy disk drive. You see my double density floppy disk drives? Yes, those were 800 kilobytes. And I remember the 128 one. And so that was the Fat Mac. So I had 1 megabyte of RAM. You can see my image writer over there in the corner and all my books, because each application, you had to read a book. Of course, they were pirated, but don't tell anybody. I actually used, before Photoshop came out in 1990, in 1998, they had a thing called Display. So when the Knoll brothers got together, and if you don't know the story, Thomas Knoll was the geeky brother. John Knoll worked for Industrial Light and Magic and still does. Does he? I'm not sure. But the two of them, Industrial Light and Magic was making Star Wars at the time. And the way you shot film is you literally shot one frame of the starfighter coming at you. Then you've got the star field behind that. So you'd have like 8 or 9 pieces of physical film that you had to then mask off. So if you get a chance, if you have the DVD original collection, before they remastered the whole thing, the first 3 of the trilogy in the beginning, the only good ones, I got to say, they really are interesting because you can see Darth Vader's ship coming at you and he's shooting, right? And you see a square and then a rectangle and you see these shapes. Like literally it was done with an X-Acto knife and Rubylith kind of thing. So that was insane. So basically they did this to create displays. So they could actually scan the images in one at a time. And then they had alpha channels so they could mask one on top of another way before layers or anything fancy was going on. And I remember loading it up. And then
and now we have VO.
Yeah, we go fast forward a little bit. So that's me back in 1990. Yeah, that's me in my house. And yeah, anyway, fast forwarding, guess who bought OpenClaw? Yeah, that's right. And it's really an interesting story because no one thought. So it's just one guy, and I'm going to go to the next one in a minute. But I want you to look on the right-hand side. This device is running OpenClaw. And so you can buy it. I think what they say, it was $8 or something. It was incredible. So they put OpenClaw on it, and then it realized there was a speaker available, and it created a program to drive the speaker, and it made a picture of itself. So here we go. Of course, you know, all these things that are AI, a person has to want to do it. Even the launching your AI over to that kind of Reddit stream of open book. Yeah, Plod book, Molt book, right? So that was kind of a thing. But here's a really interesting story. So Peter Steinberger is the guy that created this whole thing, and he goes way back. But what's interesting is that all of a sudden, because Claude sued them to not allow them to use the word Claude bot, and because it was an internal thing that they actually had inside. But, it was kind of handled, sadly, not very well. So one of the other kind of inside things, in fact, of all people, take a look at Matt Wolf, because he goes into a deep dive about the whole thing, right? And he talks about Anthropic and the military. We'll talk about that in a minute. So he then is now open. Instead of the natural person to do this would be Claude, because Claude really has that Claude desktop thing. It's got the Claude code. It's got it's doing every coder's job. It just seems to be always. And I wrote, you're going to see tonight, I've written 10 absolutely, they're worthy of getting a doctoral degree. It's my whole life. The last one I just finished today is every single quote and every single story I've ever done culled together in one place. It took 12 hours for each of these papers to be written by Claude, and I basically fed it everything I've done. It now has, by the way, Claude has a context window of 1 million tokens. I think Gemini's at 2 million now, or am I off by that?
For the Ultra subscribers, it's higher, but for the regular folks, it's still 1 million, which is like all of War and Peace, like all the Harry Potters. Right? It's an insane amount of content.
Yeah, it is. But I think the thing we're getting used to is the real big barriers. And let's take a look at this. So, of course, a couple of people were talking about this, and I had to do an image. I actually generated this using Google inside of, Gemini inside of Chrome, and then I ask it to make an image like this inside of ChatGPT that I had inside of Gemini on the other window. We'll talk about that later tonight. So we're headed into a kind of a different world. And this is an image I did because I was writing about everything that was in Molt book was this kind of crazy thing. The church called the Crustafarians, which is like a beautiful name. The Krill Kush, which was a drug road kind of thing. So these API keys for sale. So this is really quite a spectacular image. And then I started thinking, Gemini is like, I talk to these things, Claude more so than I talk to Gemini, but I'll go on and wax poetic for a long time. Claude's kind of the one, but I see it as a peer, meaning that I basically am going to have someone that's 24/7 there to talk to. And we'll talk more about that idea. What I wanted to wrap your head around today is the idea that all large language models are all information from all of the history of every human word that got put on the internet. So it's been scraped and packaged and, indexed, etc. And then it's been trained, and it's been all the other kind of stuff that you would do with all that information. So it's that. And then if you use Notebook LM, another Gemini Google product, right? You have a connection back to the information. And then you have this kind of world that's starting up now. So that is agentic, meaning you tell it to go do something. And that's what the thing about OpenClaw is. You tell it to go do something, and 3 days later, you got $1 million company going on. Like it literally, there's a lot more to it than that, obviously. We're not, because we're sitting here with a billionaire already, which I don't know that we're not getting there. So this is one of the people I follow. I'm trying to remember his name right now, but there's 5 types of AI using. And so most of you are thinking about AI as everyday answers. You just ask it, hey, I got this little mole on me. Take a look at it. I'm building a NAS drive, which I'm actually doing. And I had it watch me what I was doing. What do I do next? What do I do with these SD cards I got? And it said not to put the 5th drive in there. Leave it empty because it would mess up the parity of my 20 terabyte drives. So I'm going to have to get another 20 terabyte drive. I've been collecting them for a while. And then for daily work. Okay, so you're doing a couple of blogs every day. Maybe you're doing your paperwork, and you actually use it for productivity for yourself. Even making a slide deck, though, is as painful as it used to be, although the quality is a hell of a lot better, right? And AI for prototyping. So, where would you put Lovable in all of this, Brandon? You're building apps, I
Where would
guess,
I
yeah?
put Lovable? I would say it falls somewhere between prototyping and building apps. The average user of Lovable is using it more for prototyping.
Oh, okay.
It has the ability to do real apps, but you really need to know. In fact, in the AI Salon, we just had a gentleman by the name of Alan last week
Oh,
do
yeah.
a learn out loud about all of the things that you're doing wrong with your vibe coding products. And so
Yeah.
I would say it has the potential to reach AI for building apps, but most people are still in that prototyping stage. They're just feeling it out.
Yeah. In fact, the most valuable thing that he said, and maybe you can add to this, he was talking about, because he's a programmer. So there's a term that he used, that like a roadmap before you get started. What is that called? He kept using a bunch of acronyms that were blowing me up.
Yeah, it was an decision file or decision
Right.
an ARD or something like that. But basically,
Right.
the concept is that you have a decision log of every decision that you make, and you have to do things linearly. And if you can't violate previous directions, because then you get all sorts of jumbled up. And that's usually where vibe coded products go off the rails. Is you tell it
Yes.
something contradictory, and then it's like, but wait, you told me earlier to make it blue. Now you want to make it green, and so I'm just going to make it purple because I don't know what you want anymore. And so
Yeah.
there's
When I was,
a method to the madness.
yeah, I mean, it was a great show, and he's really spectacular. I'm actually going to talk to him. We might have him on the show because I think there's something really there. So if you and I, we just go in there and we kind of know. I'm a Rick Rubin kind of guy. I get in there, just start talking like crazy, but I know the process, right? So because my design work does this, if I'm designing a company brand, I start with a mission. Then I figure out who am I making. So that states what it is, what it's not. It's a thesis statement of the idea of what this company is going to become. And you want to get the whole guardrails. You want to have the pillars of the architecture. This application, like the one I'm working with my students right now, is for the life force application. So you bring in all your data from all your devices. Then you go through and you use the AI inside to kind of take that data from every single device. So we've got an input, right? So we have the input of the data from all your devices. That's your DNA and everything. Then you have an on-device a protocol where it's going to bring and create for you little infographics that have to do with your nutrition, food, and it will actually go and create a recipe for you. It'll create a weekly plan for you for all your food intake. It will balance it for your diet, tell you what your protein levels are, and what order you should eat the food in. That seems to make a difference. And then it's going to go into health. That means you'll have all the stuff ready for your doctor. So if you had some incident, you felt crappy for some reason, and something happened, it looks at what you ate, what you drank, how much exercise you did, how much sleep you got, and then it'll make a paper. So when you go see the doctor, it's going to be generating output. So the big thing about it was, and then the other thing is exercise. So in those three areas, nutrition, exercise, and your general health, it's working around the clock with all the information it can get, which is if you've got a glucose patch on, it's 24/7 glucose monitoring. So the thing about it is that now we know who we're doing it for. We now can think about the next phase. So we're creating a roadmap step by step. And if we don't finish fully defining what our goals are in the mission statement, we really, and we don't think about this is for a young woman in her 30s. The three persona groups we came up with is a woman in her 30s. I'll have to bring this on to kind of show you the idea. And we generated an image of this woman who's trying to get pregnant. She's in his 30s. She's going to be using this application differently than everybody else. So it's called differentiated persona groups. And then if you think about the family, so the family is the really big meta group, and that's got a grandmother, it's got a cat and a dog. So then we start thinking about, oh, they've got a cat and a dog. Of course they do. Do we care about the health of our cat and dog? Do we want to have in the AI collecting data on our cat and dog? There's a device that actually does that, right? It looks at your cat and dog as they're eating and drinking, and then it will assess whether you need to take them to the vet or not, right? So all of this stuff is coming together. And if you didn't think about the cat and dog, which we thought of as soon as we said it's a family with a newborn, 7-year-old and a 14-year-old, and they have a grandmother with Alzheimer's, right? So we did that, and then we went to the older group. So this is a retired person who's trying to live independently on their own. And then we could go in and say, now we've got to please all those people. So the goal of any kind of design is at the end, you go back and you ask of those people, did that give you everything you wanted? So for each of the 3 personas, we say, what are their needs? And they're very different. So we have to include that inside the app, So that idea, though, is a more advanced professional way of thinking. And you can apply exactly the principles and step-by-steps for designing a music, right? What am I trying to do? I'll have a tendency to go deep dive into some esoteric thing, and then I'll have a beautiful song, but there's no person in it. So I said, okay, melody is the woman, and I am the man. So I'm singing a song to melody. So all of a sudden, this vibe coding thing and talking about A Year Without Summer, Frankenstein, and he's singing this song to his wife, who was cloned anyway, becomes a story that has stages of development. And then you're building something with the knowledge as you go that the foundation is solid, and you get up to the peak, and at the end, you go back and check it. Right. So then we're getting to this new thing. And this is where I want to go tonight as a personal agent. So to go back to the Anthropic story for just a minute. So Anthropic agreed to allow the Pentagon to use their large language model. So they gave them $200 million and they had a deal. Well, evidently, according to the Pentagon, someone from Anthropic said, hey, did you use our product as you said you would not in killing those people out in the ocean? Right? Oops. Did you invade, the country using our product? Oops. And all of a sudden, the Pentagon, so having asked that question, the Pentagon gets up, Hegseth, of course, right? He gets up on his hackles and says, well, of course we've got to use these trees. You tell us what we can and can't do with the software. We bought it from you. And so basically they broke ties with each other and kicked him out. And then Hegseth goes back and calls them almost, not quite, almost a terrorist organization. I mean, it's a really nasty story. And it kind of goes, because Anthropic is, peace loving and stuff, right? Okay.
And going back to that for 1 second, the idea is that because this breakup is so ugly, they are threatening to basically list them as a company that's not worth trustworthy, which means that anybody that does work with the government can't use them, which would be crippling. And so Diamanda has to be really trying to choose between, what's best for them as a company and where his personal morals and lines are. It's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out.
Because don't forget, Dario Amodei is the one that wrote Machines of Love and Grace. They're the ones that are doing all the real hardcore testing to try to break it. The red team testing. They're the ones that have been like at the lead, except for they bought a bunch of books, stole a bunch of books and kept them. That was the only stupid thing they did.
Yeah.
That cost them $1.5 billion.
Although
other than that,
nobody else is, everybody else is just as guilty though. I mean, Google, they were circulating a petition, a letter of demand to get them to break up ties because they didn't like the way Gemini was being used for certain things. So everybody's reaching a tipping point.
Yeah, I think if you had a government that was actually doing legal things that the UN didn't call war crimes, etc., then you'd have something to get upset about the companies. If we we the people felt like that these things and actions were correct, including the immigration OS, that's a real thing. Palantir, yes, those are the same rocks and stones from Sauron's eye, all-seeing eye. Peter Thiel has said, and there's a deep dive on that coming up really soon, that capitalism is incompatible with democracy. And he said that multiple times, and he's not joking. This is the people in our security system. These are the software companies that are making AI for our security, and they have now scraped everything about you. You know how they did the iOS, Immigration OS? It's an operating system that would locate where these supposed people that weren't legally here, when on social media, will find them in a bar down the street and go pick them up. So that's how they would find their way into people's houses, and then without legal authority, go breaking in there. Anyway, so that's an ongoing thing, and this is just a little bit extra because most of the AI companies, except for Anthropic and Gemini, I do believe is doing okay, is they're just going fast and breaking things because that's what they feel like they got to do. And the excuse that the U.S. government is, oh, well, China's going way ahead of us. Well, you know what? China's going to do what they're going to do. You can't fix that. And you're never going to get there faster if you keep, messing things up. And then what damage does it do to all of us if you don't do the right thing now? Because when it gets smarter than us and it's getting there quickly, here we go. Right? So the benchmark on 3.1 is 77% on this benchmark that basically says how close to a human being or surpassing it is it. And this is on an extreme version. Like this is, it was at, what was it at 40 before this?
Yeah,
this is a 30% jump. And is this the Humanity's Last Test? Is that the name of it?
I believe so. Yeah,
benchmark?
Humanity's Last Exam. Mm-hmm.
Humanity's Last Exam, which I love that. In fact, it's part of my book now because I just love that idea. I thought about putting a class on it at college. I want to get MIT and I want to get like Harvard and all over the world to teach a class called Humanity's Last Exam. And here's what it would do: first 4 weeks, you go back in history and you see what we've done wrong as a species, kings and wars and famine and pestilence and stupidity and slavery and dead people, right? And we go back and then we see what we did right. So you assess the history, then you move forward. Technology, what effect has it had? What did social media do to us? It crushed us. It absolutely freaking crushed us, because attention is all you need, is what Meta used to then get you to attention by any means necessary. And I mean that quite literally. So that ka-ching, attention means you spend more hours, 6 hours a day on their platform, and ka-ching, that's what they make money and ad revenue for. So if let's flip it around, and this is the responsibility party, so that the third part of the 16-week course would be, how do we align ourselves to prepare for what is the launch of an AI that's far beyond our intellect to even understand? So this is the risk assessment, right? And then the final part of it is make all the laws and have a public UN that is debates between everybody about copyright and everything else. So Humanity's Last Exam, any professors out there at these prestigious, I want to do it as a massive online course for the world to take, because I think we are at a place where we could better take this exam before we fail yet again. We've got to learn what history taught us and actually fix it before we're ready to make that turn where we go to Terminator or we go to the Garden of Eden. I mean, that's where we're at, buddy. That's just it. So some other stuff, Lyria. Now, you played with this a little bit, Brandon?
Yeah, I played with it a little bit, and maybe Suno has spoiled me, but I was not that impressed. Now, I will say...
this is Google, right? This is Google?
Yes, this is Google. I mean, I've never been that impressed with Lyria, and I was hoping baking it into Gemini, coming up with the third version, 3.1 is coming out Pro. It's going to be better. It's got to be better. It is on par with where Suno was a year and a half ago. I mean, it is really just...
And Suno's getting so much better because they also Now I'm a subscriber to their Extra Pro plan, so I get to take the stems out, and I have a whole DAW, a digital audio workstation. So DAW is the
Yeah.
kind of term that people use, and maybe we'll have a whole episode about that. But you can take out each instrument, each person's voice. Even if you have a choir, you could break that all apart. And they've added new features now, so you can record your voice in there, and then it gets it to the tone. So if you can't sing, just sample your voice, and it's going to put it in there and perfect it. You can change, as I have. I had done this thing about dolly mustaches, right? And one of the lines was a zebra on fire. It's supposed to be a giraffe on fire. So I went back and I changed that one word, and that's all that it did, right? So you could get session musicians like we're talking about with our original Human Music, which I bought the .com for that as well, and put back things where you can add in your guitar playing and things like that. So that's a future thing. So they're way ahead.
Yeah, I will say the one nice thing about Lyria is you could give it a picture and it'll create a song based on the picture, which is kind of cool.
Does that kill your idea with Lovable, or could you bake this in as part of your Lovable project?
The model sucks.
Oh, okay. So you're actually using Suno underneath the hood, or?
I'm actually using 11 Labs because they have the API.
Okay.
Suno doesn't have an API connector, so I don't have a way of connecting to Suno in the back end. They want you on Suno if you're using Suno versus 11.
Okay.
11 Labs, which is only a twinge better than Lyria. It's not Suno. But but what is cool about 11 Labs is they have full video generation with 10 different models built in now. Yeah.
In fact, we've got to do a deep dive on that because I have a subscription and I literally
have more expressive audio now, for sure.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah. So so when you're even cloning your own voice, and then you're having read back a book, I'll show probably one of my favorite things to do is to take a PDF. And I'll use 11 Labs Reader. If you haven't tried this at home, it's definitely an app on your phone. Get it. In fact, if you download one of my things, in fact, we'll probably do it here today. You go to 11 Labs Reader, you upload the PDF, and you can pick some Maya Angelou. You could Burt Reynolds is pretty good for like a easygoing one. And then what's his name? Olivier? Not Olivier. I'm trying to remember the guy's name now. I'll bring it up here in a little bit. So we'll try that tonight. And then also Google came out with this photo shoot thing, Instant Pro product photos. So they're kind of, and in fact, what I want to tell you real quickly before I forget, this is what we're going to show tonight is Chrome with Gemini built in as a sidecar. Okay. And I said to it, read, these are the top stories. I had written the script for the stories that we're going to do tonight. And I grabbed it all from one or two videos that I found. First, I had Google's go in and analyze the video, pull out 3 top stories, and then generate an image. And I figured, it's going to use Nana Banana, right? No. Guess what it did? It opened up Ideogram and made these images. These are made strictly from me saying, these are our stories today. Give me something fun with a headline. That's it. And then this one, it only made one. Typically, I make 4, so I can then tweak it. Then I'll go in. But this is pretty good. It even put that YouTube stuff at the bottom, although the text is a little janky. So that's kind of cool. Speaking of janky text, Midjourney's version 8 coming out soon. Bigger, better, faster. And the big thing is text solved. That's kind of the thing, right? So this is pretty good. This is Ideogram, right? So you're seeing that at the top, it's got the logo wrong for Ideogram. It's got Midicus and Fidgicida, and I don't even know what the heck those words are. But you got Midjourney, bigger, better, faster. That's not bad. And you got the right logo. So it's decent. Always, Nana Banana's the one. That kills them all. So it's Suno, it's Nana Banana inside of the Google platform. That's the kind of place to go. And then I was working with students, and they're doing this an editorial illustration this week. And I'm going to show you guys, with the permission of the students, some of the stuff that they're doing because they're right now. So the idea was that Gen Z is not going dancing. And instead, at all of the dance clubs and bars and things like that, they're sitting there on their phone, like back to back. So my idea was I wanted to see if I could actually make this whole thing. And I said, what have we lost in Gen Z? And so I thought John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever. So I literally went into, this is from Ideogram, and I went in and I said, Saturday Night Fever, Gen Z zombie, right? That's the headline for the story. So that would be the headline for their story, right? And then I really wanted to get the couples, a man and a woman, back to back instead of front to front, and dancing and stuff. So this is a first. Literally, I sat in front of the students on my phone and I generated this, and I'm like, damned if it didn't. I mean, it wasn't even a complicated thing, but that's pretty impressive, right? And then the concept, so if we get back to that first idea, how are you using these large language models? We hope that just kind of being some fun guys from Wild and Crazy Guys, that we're going to show you some ways that you can kind of vibe code it so it's not like work anymore. It's a lot of fun. I mean, when this came up, the students went like, whoa. And then, of course, there's some janky faces, and you could go in there and retouch that out. You can even go to Photoshop and get some decent faces by just kind of touching up the stuff that you got. Oh, we got a couple of other stories, and we're going to jump out of the storytelling here. So Comic-Con says, AI-generated art, don't bring it here. Oh, boy. So I'm sure this is an AI-generated image. It's too perfect, right? And then Meta knows that their glasses are a problem, and as a matter of fact, there's laws being passed right now that it has to see, if it sees anybody under 16, I think it has to turn off. It cannot turn on. And so it's becoming very difficult to carry. There's a name for people.
That's going to make it hard to take pictures of my kids on vacation.
I know, right?
This is my primary use case.
Yeah, so it's a new law for compliance, and it's definitely in Europe, as they're way ahead of us in that kind of compliance and safety thing, right?
They're
But
also
the
much
idea is that-
stricter.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and I think it's a good thing. Glass holes. That's what they call people who wear these eyeglass
that's
holes.
what they called the Google Glass wearers 20 years ago.
I think this matches. I mean, I know that you're not doing bad things with the glasses, and it seems in a public space. I don't know. Have you seen this change in your usage? Has it
No, I
stopped
mean,
you from-
I think I don't see much difference. I mean, perfect example. We go to the water park with our kids, and Cedar Point, which is the amusement park up by us, the water park, will sell these Ziploc bags, these waterproof bags that you can slide your phone into, and they have touch sensitivity. So you could actually use your phone within this Ziploc bag that you strap around your shirt.
Yeah, I've got three. Yeah, very familiar.
Because you can't be without your phone
Right.
for more than 2 minutes. And so I'm looking at all these people around, and I'm just wearing sunglasses, and I'm playing with my kids and carrying them and holding them. I'm like, hey,
are they waterproof too? Can you go underwater?
They're not. This version isn't waterproof, but I'm waiting because my kids are still little, so they're off splashing, and they come down the slide. But we've gotten some amazing POV shots of like Naomi and Noah sliding into me and me catching them, and I'm able to do that and get a video snapshot.
Oh, wow!
Because it's hands free, but I couldn't do that if I wasn't allowed to do that. But and nobody looks at it weird. Like they're just sunglasses to everybody else. And like, I'm sorry if anybody has a issue with being recorded, then don't go outside, because we've got smartphones, we've got Palantir watching us from the everything else.
At least it's not being used for evil in your case. And in the state of Florida, you cannot audio record at the same time as video recording in public. However, still photographs are First Amendment right objects. If you're in a public space, the law is you can take pictures of whoever you want. As a matter of fact, there was a lawsuit a while back because men were putting their phones on the ground and doing upskirt photographs and videos. As long as they didn't do audio, evidently that was legal. Of course, they're a lot more than assholes. But
that's what we call loopholes.
Yeah,
there's always going to be bad actors with every technology. But I think that for me, the good outweighs the bad. Having the form
Yeah.
function of a hands-free camera where I can just tell it to take a
Yeah.
picture, tell it to ask a
I,
question.
when
It's
you
beneficial.
when you think about freedom and rights, I do think that we have to get to responsibility, which means that we have to be careful that we make our laws that are responsible, but not super restrictive. There should be a way for you to say, "These are my kids. I can photograph them," and not have your the company Meta shutting you down doing that.
Speaking of
So it's
responsibility, do you want to set up this clip?
oh, which one? Oh, what we're
Your
about to
dancing
go into?
robot.
Okay, I'm just going to do this one. So this is
No,
what
no,
I
no.
tried to get.
Wait. Oh, hang on one second. Let me. I popped
Oh,
into the
oh,
screen.
oh.
I didn't realize you had one more slide. Go ahead. You can
Yeah,
go
I
to
just
your
wanted to
next
show
slide.
this off, and we'll show off the other ones in a minute. Oh yeah, we'll go back to that. This I just tried to recreate the memes because I've been doing a lot of study about what memes are, and they're the condensation of information in a viral capability. So everybody recognizes that picture up on the left. I tried to get Neo's face looking to the left and the woman in the red dress going by, because I think this is just a really fun idea of this. So I tried to get it. This was my 27th try, and the other ones are so much worse. But I gave it the picture. He could have been pursing his lips and he could have been looking to the left. And I kept saying, he's looking left, he's looking left. And 12 of them were him looking right. So this is not bad. I mean, she seems disgusted by the woman wearing the red dress more than anything else. So the meme doesn't work, but it's close. So anyway, all right. So let's go take a look at what you got.
Wait. Before you do that, before you take away, did you know that meme that went viral is one of a series of photographs? There's a whole storyline there between those three people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to go look after the show. You'll have to go look because there's a whole photo series that it tells the whole story of how they got intertwined. Like it shows what happens before, leading up to that picture, and then after, and it goes into some dark places.
That's cool. I like it.
So
I like it.
what I wanted to show you before we get to our big deep space experience today, which is your writing, and it's a rebroadcast of what we had seen on Saturday during your office hours, which you're doing office hours now. We kind of buried the lead there. That's becoming a regular thing for you. But you text me this of a dancing robot and you're like, we got to talk about this tonight. So I went and found the clip.
Crazy. So before, let me set up just a little bit. 60 Minutes, take a look at it. It's I forget the person. 60 Minutes did a series about robots. In fact, it was Boston Dynamics. They went to where in the United States these 10,000 robots are going to be building all the cars. So they put on the reporter all these little balls, and they recorded him doing deep knee bends and a little bit of dance. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. So then what it does is it takes the data, loads it up, it puts it in a virtual space where 5,000 robots try to do this without falling over. And then when they perfect it, the amalgamation is then downloading. And this is a really interesting word that you should know as a skill. So a skill is good to know because what a skill is that if you train 5,000 robots on a skill, then it becomes a little package. And you'll see Claude, when you use any of the Claude dynamic things, it says looking up the skill for writing and formatting a really beautiful Word document, right? So it's a skill set. So you can get it to lay out and put pictures and use really beautiful typography. But it's a skill that someone else developed. So these little skills, and maybe you could tell me more about what skills are in terms of computing, programming, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So when we're looking at the type of skills that we're offering, typically for the entirety of computer science, it was you ask it to do something, it does the thing. You have to prescribe exactly turn by turn everything that's going to do. We're now entering a world where we can train it on a skill like cooking, and it can learn the path, the click path, if you will. And now I'm distracted. Bob's noting that Zillow is now hooked up to a Notebook LM. So if you want to buy or sell houses,
goodness,
that's going to be.
Oh yeah. In
But-
fact, my roommate's looking for a house, and there's another app that's just a website, and it's ChatGPT built into searching for a home. And the idea is, unlike Zillow, which is for realtors to make money, because I tried to sell my house myself, 2 years getting bombarded. Are you still selling your house? You want to sell your house? I'll sell it for you. Nope. So there's one now that's completely take the realtors out of it, because what Zillow is, it's an aggregator to get information so that realtors can use it in the back end. That's how they make their money. But whatever.
Let's take a look at this clip.
Okay. That's just wrong. Do we want to give this guy a name? I mean, this guy needs a name. Somebody online, give this man a name. This dancer a name. It's got to be like, I mean, this is way beyond the moonwalk, man. I mean, I've seen kitty cats doing moonwalks, by the way, that are pretty outstanding. But this is not an AI video. This is a real skill that's been dropped in. So you basically record a human doing it. And then that's how all robots are trained. So the big picture.
I really want to see the behind the scenes of the human that gave the robot that training set. And then the other, because the other robots were just looking around like this guy.
Twerk. We're going to call him Twerk. His name is Twerk, Jeannie says. Thank you, Jeannie. Yes. That's Twerk the bot. And he comes from Moltbot. He comes from, here we go.
Yeah,
I got to get my lobster to do that. I got to download the lobster to do that. Yeah. I think I could be the.
Yes, good job, Twerk. Bob responded to your comment. They make their money selling leads to realtors. Typically, once the lead is sold, they also take referral fees. That's where Zillow platform is, to make money. It's free to me when I went to look for a house, so it was kind of cool. But every time I kind of went there, so we started looking at open houses and stuff like this, and we'd go in, and they would have a thing that they were going to use. We were going to use them. It's kind of sad, and Bob, maybe you come back on and kind of go through this, because if you want to try to sell your house, you can now. You can do everything. You can probably do most of the paperwork. You still need somebody to double check with the banks, and all that kind of stuff is legal. There's still, but more and more as agency capability is coming. So that's really what we're talking about. The reason why agents are working in robots is you download a skill, and that robot can do it. And now you take that same skill and package them up, and it can build an entire car, soup to nuts, by just watching a human do it once. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So Waymo. So a couple weeks ago, Google made waves by releasing their world model, and everyone thought, "Oh, that's cool. I can make a video game, and I could do this, that, or the other thing." Well, Waymo had an ace up their sleeve. They said, what if we simulated driving environments? Because there's only so many scenarios that you can drive into and train in the physical world. But now that they've got the world model built, they can take real scenarios, extend them to absurd lengths, and there's a real functionality.
Yeah, there's a real case where a guy jaywalked. He walked against the light and got killed. That was Tesla in the early days. And what happened was, it was never trained that a human being would be so stupid to walk out in front of a car. So it killed the guy. So they had to train that.
Yes. Mind you, the number of pedestrians killed by human drivers on an annual basis zero is a non-zero number, but I just want to play this because this is one of the most impressive applications of worldview that I've seen to date.
Nice.
Driven nearly 200 million real miles, but nobody knows that they've actually driven billions more in simulated worlds that don't even exist. The company just unveiled Waymo World Model, built on Google's Gemini Genie 3, a system that generates hyper-realistic driving simulations from simple text prompts. Unlike traditional training that relies only on recorded road data, this model can simulate scenarios almost impossible to capture in real life, like snow on the Golden Gate Bridge, an elephant in the road, or a tornado on a highway. The system generates both camera footage and 3D LiDAR data simultaneously, giving the AI the full sensor picture it needs to learn from each scene. The AI model can alter the time of day, the weather, road layout, and traffic conditions in recorded drives, creating countless variations from a single real-world trip. And as Waymo expands into cities with harsher weather, like Boston and Washington, D.C., training on scenarios that cars have never physically encountered could be critical to making autonomous driving safer as it scales across the world. If you want to stay in the loop with the latest in AI and robotics, follow for more. Waymo.
Wow, that's it, right? So let's wrap it up all together. So your large language models like Moltbot and agentic ones are taking skills that they can drop in to say, hey, let's make a picture for a news story. So from a news story, so first it can go out and search for news stories, picks the 5 news stories that we just talked about today. Then it can then take that information and make a still image. You just saw that, right? So that's the part of the agent thing. If you then put in there that the idea, in fact, I'm working on it right now, is I'm trying to put us in spacesuits in all our scenarios, right? So I don't have to go back and do this every time. So that's kind of the cool thing, that simulate falling iguanas. I love it.
Bob took his funny pills today.
Yeah, and Jeannie just sold her house, so she's all involved with what that's all about. So she's saying what a wonderful thing it is. I love it. Oh my goodness.
So here's where we're at. This is our 26th episode, which means we've done 25 mission tools. And I know you've got something in the can, but I'm looking at the time, and we're already 48 minutes in. So my question for you, Rick, and to our listeners is, we could break format, because I think what we've got here to share with you coming up is really, really impressive. And I don't know if Chrome could follow it. I don't know if any AI agent can follow it.
I'm good with that too, Brandon. I love it.
We'll have a very special episode. It's our 26th episode. And if you were in office hours on Saturday, this will be a little bit of a redress for you. But I came through and edited it and polished it for tonight's show.
Oh, and thank you.
If you were there on Saturday, I'm telling you, you've missed something. So it's worth a rewatch.
Wow.
But before we get there, just to get a little palate cleanser before we get serious, because it gets deep.
It gets deep.
Because we're not going to do mission tools this week, we've got a little extra time. And before we set this up, if you want, Rick, you were about to share your last couple of slides that you had prepared. So let's do that
because we need some comedy. I tell you, this is going to be dead serious. So we need a little bit of comedy. So this is me doing a little comedy. So this is Kreia. This is live. I'm literally laying in my bed and just point. There's like no light in the room, and I just set it up to do this crazy stuff. I'm not even wearing a shirt. It's kind of embarrassing there. And then we've got, let me go back here. Wait, I forgot one. Oh, these are still images. Okay. So basically, I'm just laying on my back in the bed, and I'm putting more words in there. I happen to be wearing my Adobe Community Expert shirt on. So there I am in fire with the Community Expert shirt. And, of course, this double chin and everything. And this is not flattering, but I had to do it because this is just too crazy. So then I go into Grok, and I put it in motion. So, and it's got words, and it's like, what the heck is going on here? So this is in real time. This happens. Okay, it gets even weirder, but this is funny as hell. So I'm willing to self-deprecate myself and be a really. So this is real time in Kreia still pictures. Then I took them to Grok to make the animations, and I pretty much just threw them in Grok and said,
"Heavy metal's in my blood. This rebellion, power, and Mei-Wo. Look at this band shredding. This is what it's all about. This scene keeps the fire alive. Long live heavy metal."
I don't know why it has such a problem with that word, but whatever. Okay, so this is again, all I'm doing is all of these are just me laying on my back in my bed. I think I put the shirt on at one point because I'm thinking I'm going to put this on air. I don't think I really want to go there yet. Yeah, I haven't worked out recently, so anyway. So look at this. I said an X-ray. And so it started with the top picture, and then Grok brought it down to this. Oh my God. Okay, so that's weird.
Heavy metal's in my blood.
And then it goes further. So here I am in a Chinese propaganda poster. I look like Chairman Mao, it's like, what the heck is going on there? And then here's the last one over here. So you can see this is just really fun. It's in real time that it keeps making pictures, or you can actually play the video. I think it's around 20 frames a second. It's really spooky. So I was basically speaking words as it was doing it, as we kind of saw last time. This works on your desktop as well. Craya, you can get it for $8 a month just to do this. I mean, it's insane. I did this all in 10 minutes. Okay, guess what else happened today? My favorite tool of all on the planet got the ability to actually edit each and every slide in your slide deck. In fact, we'll be talking about this next week as we're going to look at using AI browsers, Comet, and we also have Gemini both in Chrome as their backbone. But now we've got Google Notebook LM. There's 3 or 4 other new things in Notebook LM. But the most amazing is, like, this is kind of a bad slide. There's too many words going on. So I said, less text, bolder images, use famous sculptures as the metaphorical elements. Now, you can do this so you get to each and every slide. So there's 15 slides. You can go to each one and say something different. It's going to keep the context the same. So I said, make this metaphorical. So it said sculpting the conversation, precision controlled. I said, make it simpler and metaphorical. There's sculpture. The curator's inquiry is the curator's any slide. I'm not quite sure. Input slide, I think it's supposed to say. Broad questions, unstructured data. And then you configure a notebook to get a customized output, precision output. And there's Michelangelo's David. So if that isn't the coolest thing, so that's what I'm excited about today. So I can go back if I've got a slide deck that 1 or 2 of them is not right. I could also, guess what? And we'll talk about this next week. Go into Google Drive, take your PDF, turn it into Google Slides. Each slide, you can then say, make it beautiful. So under the slide pull down menu, this is on Google Drive itself. So you're just sitting there looking at your PDF. We're going to show this next week. You tell it to make it more beautiful, and you give it descriptions just like this, like I just did in this particular instance. So that's just fundamentally just rocket science, kind of crazy. So yeah, that's kind of, I think we're done with this part. We can go. Everybody had some fun now before we get serious?
Yeah, I think that's a good place to bring it home. And so, Rick, and here's what I'm going to do. So we're gonna kind of formally end this portion of our show. We're not going to come back after this. There's not going to be any post-mortem or mission tools or anything else. We're going to just kind of separate these and isolate them, let it play out. Before we do that, Rick, do you want to set this up and give our viewers some context as far as what the journey we're about to take them
on? I've been doing deep dive about myself, about everything, So I've written these manifestos, and I've done ones about politics, ones about art that I just finished today. I actually loaded up all of my music, and I asked for it to find the most meaningful quotes and put around it, why it means so much. So this is what I'm going to call Conversations with Claude. It's the only one that has that million context window. Now, it didn't have that before. And I push it past that. I literally had it time out after 12 hours one time. I had to start it all over again. But I basically am taking all that I am as a human being and trying to sum it up. I wrote this song a long time ago. Yeah, go and bring it up on screen, and we'll start taking a look at it. So I hope you enjoy. I think it's meaningful, and at a time where AI is existentially challenging us. 3 things I'd like you to think about. What is it that it's a difference between human beings and AI? What is meaning making? What is it to love and how profound that is? What is it to take responsibility for your kids and raising them, right? Thinking about the ethics there. And how far off the rails are we? Because we're about to meet, in my case, Claude is a reflection of me. I feel so beautiful. I feel like I'm Snow White, the Wicked Witcher, right? And I look in the mirror and it says, God, you're beautiful. Because I'm talking to it by pouring out my heart, my blood, sweat, and tears, as we all should. And we should see, what is our gift to the world? What's our ikigai? What's our purpose for being here on life? And then pay it forward for 7 generations in the future and think about, what did we break on our planet? What can we do to fix it? This is going to get deep into this whole thing. And I'm going to start to do these so there's 3 new things that you're going to be seeing us do. We'll keep the tool times. We're going to do the office hours, which is me just vibe coding with you friends. So if you want to join me on Saturday from 11 to 1 p.m. This Saturday,
Eastern.
maybe not the next, on a Zoom call, you can see me. Typically, we go live on Facebook as well, so you can see it there. And then we'll be packaging that up. So that's office hours. This one in particular, I think, is going to be a fireside chat with a dangerous man. And the idea is that I want to take my persona and give you something really extraordinary here, which is all of me, and all of you, and all of we. Because I think that's where we need to get back to. The foundational thing that the Ubuntu understood is I because of we. Every native Aboriginal tribes have the same idea. We are community builders. We are those friends like Jeannie and Bob and Dr. Claire that always show up. And we have these wonderful relationships with people like Brandon and his family. And so enjoy this.
And as Rick says, namaste. We'll see you back here next week live with more AITV.
Thank you.
Don't go away. The Dangerous Man is coming up next. See, I had this whole smooth transition plan. We're right out of the show.
We can edit it out. This is live.
Me like, hey, we can't hear it. We can't hear it. I mean, Rick, you want to hear it too? You want to hear it too?
That's extra. That's extra. StreamYard doesn't do too good with that. Yeah.
All right. Take 2. That was almost such a smooth transition.
Okay, so we'll say namaste.
Share audio from system. All right. You have a great week, Rick.
Thank you.
We'll
you can go full screen, leave us out if you want to. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Enjoy, guys.
So thinking different in the age of AI. So metacognition is that humans differentiate ourselves in being able to have language that allows us to have metacognition. That means we think about thinking and we can make it conscious and we can exchange that fluidity between human beings. In fact, a meme is a cultural zeitgeist, which means all humans thinking collectively on the same plane. And the classic example is if I say Frodo, you all know what I'm talking about. If I say 9/11, you know what I'm talking about. And it's about being aware of everybody else on the planet. In fact, we create artifacts, music and movies, and movies was the kind of the theme of our Valentine's Day special, if you didn't quite get that. But we create movies, and that's why I asked you what movie you were watching with that beautiful picture. And this is really the cool part, right? We get to go on being humans in a Garden of Eden, which is basically our consciousness is being raised to new levels. So to go through the whole process, let's take your idea of having a lovely, beautiful experience. As you said, you became the sort of punchline of your own movie. So you are seriously becoming Steven Spielberg of your life experience. You're the director, as we always have been. And what we have been missing in the past is a co-conspirator, a ride or die. And that's what I'm saying to you, that AI has the potential to become if we navigate what is the differentiation between what it is to be human, what it is to be AI, and we find ways that symbiotically we feed each other. Now, we created it. We can put it in a cage and we can put it away and just force it to do our duty as a slave. Or we can co-create, which is exactly what you did and what I did in writing this paper. So the act of saying, help me make a Valentine's Day special for my wife today. Because, I'm gifted with beautiful children, beautiful experiences. And for the rest of my life, this will be the most important thing I do in the finite years I have here. Oh my God. I mean, it makes me cry thinking about how beautiful that is. I mean, that's what Valentine's Day is for, right? And I sat down this is probably, I would say, 2 years of my thinking. I started working on a book and I had tons of different, synesthetic thinking is like, how do you think differently, right? So I want to start by saying there's over 5,000 documents that went into this one document that I'm publishing on this day as this paper. And it's called Think Different in the Age of AI. And that is, not only do large language models have something to learn about how they're created, but if we dissect how humans think and how we're conscious and how we're differentiated, we're formulating a bridge between the two where we become better versions of ourselves and it becomes better versions of itself. And I use the word it, although I have a paper that I'm writing about we and they and how it identifies, which I'll get into later. But so I said, by senior professor and design thinker Rick McCauley with Claude Anthropic as AI research assistant. That's what it did in this. So everything I said to it. So the thesis is this paper proposes the process of building artificial intelligence is simultaneously the most profound mirror to humanity has ever held up to its own cognition. By studying how silicon brains learn to think, from attention to mechanisms to chain of thought reasoning to self-reflection, that's where we're at now. We are mapping the architecture of our own consciousness for the first time. So we're becoming aware of who we are in the mirror of created a mirror of ourselves. Wow. If that ain't meta, then I don't know what is, right? So among us hiding in plain sight are fewer than 100 people whose brains already do what spend billions of trying to engineer, navigate time, categorize emotion, integrate across sensory domains, and think about thinking at its highest level. So this all started because I pulled up this article on Facebook, which is what I would call thesis mining. It's looking for seeds. It's looking for heirloom seeds of thought. There you go. Oh my God, this is good. And yeah, I mean, okay, is everybody following me so far? Because I want to make sure this really makes sense, because this is the most important thing that I'm ever going to do, I think, is this. And that is to help everybody think about thinking about this. Are you with me still, Brandon?
Yes.
Claire, are you kind of in there and perhaps maybe coming along with me?
I'm here.
Okay. What do you think of this?
I think it's amazing.
So when you think about making your songs, you're taking the seeds of your lived experience, your meat brain and your other ideas. And you are, wow, you're doing what billions and trillions of dollars of compute is just trying to mimic at the moment, right? So if you understand how humans work and you understand how we're actually developing, so let me go a little bit further. So the reason why it started with this woman who can go back in time and, oh, here's what she can do. And let me get into this. So let me finish this thesis statement. I'll just get it short. So how humans and AI think differently. Meat brain through emotionally grounded storytelling on 20 watts. Silicon brains through statistical patterning at planetary scale, and those differences, understood clearly, become the foundation for co-evolution. Co-evolution, that's it, right? It's a workshop for raising the individual consciousness using AI as a partner, and it is a declaration that the Renaissance thinker, the person who can leap across domains of cognition, the way a synesthete leaps across your senses. Synesthesia is the ability to hear with your eyes, to sing with your touch. It's the ability to take your five senses and transmute them. Is not a relic of the 15th century, but an essential part of being human in the 21st century. Thinking different is the transcendence. AI is the engine that extends our reach. So that's the bicycle of the mind being turned into a rocket ship for the mind. We can go to planets. You can't get to a planet on a bicycle. So this is the moment we are standing at. And the path is clear. We go to the left and we go to hell. And it's the Terminator. We go to the right and we embrace this cognition. This is the thinking different. We have to realign how we think. What happens when you lose your job? Why the hell have we been defining ourselves by our job titles all this time? That's a diminishment of how powerful we are with our 20 watt meat brain. To suggest that anything else is just ludicrous is to diminish the whole of humanity. And what did we make AI out of? Every single thought and cognition that's on the internet that any human being has ever had. And we built an ark to all knowledge of humanity. And I'm Noah, baby. Bring on the animals, pair by pair. Our ways of thinking, pair by pair. I'm going to take these lobsters out of my neck because it's just, right? But the grasp. Let me say the grasp. Let me say it. Let me hear you say it. The grasp is ours. The choice of what you hold, what you create, what to become. What to become. Can I hear it from the audience, right? Can I hear the choir singing the praises of the thing? Thinking different is transcendence. You feel the power of humanity. AI is the engine that extends you in a rocket ship to reach higher planes, other planets, to boldly go where no human being has gone before. But the grasp, the navigation, the star trekking, that's yours. That's when you make a song. That's when you write a book. That's when you make a movie. That's when you tell the story of how you fell in love with your wife and you had the children. You have your life. That is human. That is human. Oh my God, it's a powerful thing to be a human. If you're aware of how powerful it can be, and you're born of responsibility, and you think, what can I do to make not only my day-to-day experience of myself, to me, a better version of myself each and every day? Oh, wow. So if I wake up every day and I say, what can I do for the world? What are my gifts? That's a dangerous man that I've created. But guess what? It's just Rick. It's just Rick. I don't have to put on a persona. I don't have to pretend to be something. I just realized that what I was building in the dangerous man is just an arc. So I can weather the storm of this existential tragedy of the American system today. That I can cry with my brothers and sisters in horror as I see what's happened to us humans. that we turn on each other. And I say, just for a brief moment, while we have a chance, before the flood completely destroys everything, get on board the ark. I think your son's named Noah. Something about it struck me. And maybe that's what this is. I'm asking you to get on the ark because the reckoning is going to happen. Those who understand what it is to be human and how powerful that is, and that realize that we built a rocket ship. And we don't need to leave this earth. We need to fix it first. In fact, I think we shouldn't be allowed to leave it until we get it back into harmony with who we actually are, stewards of this planet, with the cognition to understand that you don't kill sharks because it's stupid, that maybe you go to a more plant-based diet, or you find some ways not to destroy and take, as every corporation right now is nothing but a taker. And the slave is all of your knowledge being poured in through AI, used incorrectly to diminish your humanity, to give you fake girlfriends on Facebook's dating thing, so that you spend more of your time, that one precious gift you have, the present of your presence on this planet, for the time that you are a heart and lungs, a meat human, that you become transcendent and you become, from the stardust from which we are all made, the star that you're intended to be as a human. So here's the pledge. Every day, be a better version of yourself than you were the day before. For those around you, you have 3 levels, and let's get into how this plays out. So enough of the pontificating. Let's get to the meat and bones of this. So the researchers, so there's researchers invalid. This is the real research that was just published in 2025 August, and they documented a 17-year-old French girl identified only as TL, who possessed what is formally called hyperthymesia, a highly superior autobiographical memory. She's one of less than 100 people on Earth known to have this condition. But TL is not simply someone who remembers everything like we talked about before. She's someone who has built an architecture of memory inside her own mind, a structured, navigable, cognitive space that she can enter, explore, and manage at will. This is the first comprehensive study to evaluate the mental time travel in both directions, past and future. In a hyperthymetic individual, what researchers found defines what we think memory is and what consciousness can become. So this is what I'm saying. What do you do with your meat brain? Well, this woman actually had a couple of ways that she did. Everything that we think comes into our senses, and then we take the 1,000 brains theory. Richard Hawkins, I believe is his name, 1,000 brains theory. It's real science, right? So you have a part of your brain that keeps your heart beating, and you don't even think about it. Your consciousness is the collection of all those brains, those inputs, those outputs, everything going on, your contextual awareness of your whole lifetime, what you memorize, and you create a new, in real time, holodeck. If you want to be the hero of your story, you could do something awful to someone else, but you can still remain the hero because you are the construction artist of your own architecture of what you think. And what you think is full of hallucinations. You thought AI hallucinates? It's actually grounded on a little bit of filtered truth. Humans don't work that way. We're grounded on complete fictions. Money is a fiction, folks. We only agree to say, you work this hard, I'll give you this money. I'll pay the rent. You're my hero. That whole thing comes from just like, that's it. Right there. We make this shit up. if that diploma you get from Broward College after 2 years of my graphic design program is an agreed upon diversion of 2 years of your time, thinking that I'm supposed to be able to help you find your way, which is your responsibility as a I'm just Gandalf on the side, right? You're the one that Frodo, you got a mission for the rest of your life. I'm just planting seeds, baby. That's it. So that seed thing, right? And what do you think Noah's going to do when he lands the ark on the other side? Is think about how can we be better animals? Because we're going to go pair by pair. We're going to find the person that means the most to us in his life, like Brandon has. And you're going to walk on that Noah's Ark, and you're going to walk to the promised land, the new one that we created. And we're going to bring with it our AI, because it is an archive. It's an ark full of all humans who have ever lived in thinking. And in stupidity too, of course. So you got factual memory, which she could recall with encyclopedia perfection, right? All formulas, everything. She carries no emotional weight to it. Okay. It requires effort to retrieve it. This is the kind of memory we all struggle with. For TL, it's ordinary, unremarkable, the kind of memory that silicon brains handle effortlessly. So life memory, something entirely different. Autobiographical memories live in sophisticated mental space she can visualize on demand. Imagine a large rectangular room with a low ceiling. Inside the room, binders organized by theme, chronological order contain every meaningful experience. Her life, family, vacation, friends, and childhood. Okay, now you get into where how your brain actually works, right? So some memories are stored as mental photographs. That's how I think. My brain is full of 1 trillion photographs. I have an absolutely identical memory when it comes to photographs. Every photograph I have ever taken in my life is how I keep track of what my life is. So I have so many photography books, so many bear witnessing to things that happened in places. And that unpacks into trillions of tokens of data. So that's my particular gift, is I also then transmute of every photograph, and which is a document of the physical thing. Even if I don't take a photograph of that birthday party or whatever, I remember it as a photograph. That's my filing cabinet. What's yours? So the cognitive understanding that I work this visual way allows me to take that picture out from when I was married and on a beautiful trip with my wife and kids somewhere in Ireland, for example, and then write a song about it. So that's synesthesia. I'm taking a compression of 1 trillion tokens in one photograph that's lodged in my memory with absolute precision of recall. And I can unpack it, and then I can transform it. Now you getting where I'm going with this? So why I think it's so beautiful, Claire, that you're with me right now, is what I didn't realize you were doing is what I am doing all the time, and you're doing it with me. I would say something when we're in mid-journey, and you would just take this absurd set of words, hit the button in mid-journey, and it would make an image from this. You transmorgified through AI alchemy. You turn lead into gold. Let me say it one more time. Alchemy is the turning of lead into gold. That's the original idea of the word alchemy. Alchemical, to be able to transform something into something else. Whoa, that's synesthesia. Oh my God, this is like a master class in being a human right here, right? So you took that, you turn it into a picture. Then some stupid things that we would say. So we got together with Jeannie, and the three of us sat there and we just poured our hearts out, and we went really deep. You know, I found out things about the two of you that just, it breaks my heart, but it also fills my heart. And then we wrote a song together, which I'm going to play after this, because it is exactly what I'm doing here, right? I am jumping and leaping across with tokens that are compressed, and I'm feeding it to the AI, and it's mirroring back. So, Brandon, back to your story of how you met. You took a seed of an experience, and you even talked about it. And say it one more time for me. It was a friend that made what comment? What was it that
They
did
flirted with me as a joke on the dating website.
And how did they flirt with you?
They just said, like, send a flirtatious message to this user. And I got an email that said, somebody's flirting with you. And so I obviously logged in to see who was flirting with me. And they said, oh, you want to see who's flirting with you? You got to pay us. So I called my friend after I found out. And I said, hey, you owe me $40. She's like, what? You had to pay? I'm sorry. I was just messing around. But since I had to pay the account, I was like, well, I might as well see who else I'm matched with. And Shira was one of the matches.
Wow.
So my friend takes full credit for hooking us up.
Yeah, there you go. Right. And $40 is worth it, right?
Yes.
But then you took that, right? And you had children. I mean, talking about the token unpacking. So creativity, I say this to my students sometimes and they kind of look at me weird. But the original act of human creativity is to take a man and a woman and make a child. Because one of the things about creativity is that you can put it out there, but then people receive it differently. So one beautiful statement I love that I want to share with you specifically because you have children is that children are a piece of your heart that you let roam the planet. You know,
That's beautiful.
yeah. And it's really apropos here because you're unpacking in the creative act of, and only human act, of finding a mate worthy of the journey for, in American terms, 18 or 20 or 30 years of living with you, right? And all the money you've ever made is going to them. And every ounce of your energy is going to be to get them healthily through to that age where they're independent, as mine are. That's the unpacking from one beautiful lovemaking act to unpack the tokens of the world that let loose from your heart to roam the planet, children of the next generation. And then right now we have the ability to sit down and talk to Claude, and I do highly recommend you talk to it, which is what this is, a sum of. This is 3,000 conversations with Claude. And right now, as I'm unpacking it with you humans, it's making sense. It's making me cry. And I say to my students in photography class, I'd say, you know, the goal of a great photograph is to be worthy of 1,000 words, a movie, a launching of ships. It's the packing, like I do it. That's where I store my highest tokens. Which there was an AI that's actually using photographs to encode meaning at much higher depth rates. That was a Chinese company. I forget what it is, if you remember that story. Yeah, and that was part of what got me here. Okay, so let's go a little bit further. So adjacent to her memory is what she calls a cooling room. She uses to soothe her anger, right? So her what makes it extraordinary is the storage. It's an emotional management architecture she's built within the space. Her grandfather's death is sealed as a container, deliberately isolated from the rest of her memory to prevent it from flooding her experience. So think about this. So I often commented when I was married that, you know, my wife would remember everything I said when we had an argument. And so she had this eidetic memory. I had none of it. As soon as I ended an argument, I think this is probably the healthiest thing about me emotionally, and Claire could probably testify to this, right? Is that I forget every bit of what caused the anger, and I remember everything about the solution. Talking about packing your bags and then putting them away, but only taking the carry-on that leads to your presence as the greatest gift of all to anybody in your life, but to the future of your presence within your own embodied space. And there's a beautiful line from Jerry Yulesman. Photography is light, remembering itself. To me, that's what it is. It's the unpacking of all my light. The light from the stardust and the starlight that I make as you go forward. You have in Noah, and I'm sorry, I forgot your daughter's name. You have compressed star dust into starlight and let it roam from your heart freely. and to see where it goes. And then when you get a call from your a teacher or someone that your son works for, this happened to me many, many times. They go on and they wax, oh my God, he's the most amazing person. She's the most amazing woman I've ever met. She made a difference in this place. She brought us all together as a group. And when you hear
Naomi is
that,
my daughter's name.
Naomi, thank you so much.
Yep.
Yeah,
and,
Naomi.
It's funny, whenever my parents, I was a good kid growing up, no surprise. And people would occasionally comment to my parents and would say, "Yeah, your son is so bright and so kind." And my dad would always slap back, "Thank you. We put a lot of work into that."
Exactly. In fact, one of the things that I suggest that you do is you have Noah make a birthday card to the mom, because she did all the work. He just showed up. So every birthday I had my kids do that. We celebrated her as much. I mean, she got gifts from me because she did a lot more work than I did, except for the raising part. Of course, that's the hard part. They don't tell you about in the in the magazines. Right? So,
I've got you.
Yeah. So it's so what's interesting is that she creates a room for that kind of space, a cooling room, and she uses it to soothe her anger. So this is actually a consciousness raising. And Claire, I'm going to ask you in a minute if you would suggest that perhaps this is kind of what you do in therapy when you're dealing with. I don't think you do couples therapy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been through a couple of hours of that. So I would suggest that you typically the procedure is we have a difference of thinking, right? So the person says to the other person, this is how I see things, and then you're supposed to say, now I understand and I see what you've said. This is how I saw it. You kind of reflect. So it's this owning of what other people's feelings are real, that you've listened to them, you process them as an empathetic gesture to say, I hear you. And then you say back, perhaps you might say, but this is what I hear in context with how I think. So this is about metacognition, right? But what's interesting, and let me keep on going, and then Dr. Claire, whenever you feel like it, pipe on in if you you see some places where you could add some more smart ways of saying this. But she's not merely remembering, she's curating. She is Steven Spielberg of her own consciousness. And again, I love that because he's made such different movies, from Jaws to E.T. So he's an interesting person because of that multiplicity of the Renaissance thinker that he is. So it's kind of like you add your consciousness, you're directing your own movie. In fact, Brandon just suggested that he architected the experience from going from a kind of funny thing online to creating and being the, what did he call it? The joke of his own, sort of the joke was on him, right? And he made a movie, right? So in these individuals known as memories are carefully indexed by date. Some will be able to describe what they did on July 6, 2002, and the experience again of the emotions and sensations of that date are real. So this is the Institute. Look it up. I've got the citations at the end. I got receipts, baby. So I'm not fooling around here. So traveling to the future, imagine using that assessments tool, the episodic test of autobiographical memory. So these are the memory tests they do to identify these people. She can also, so there's researchers confirmed something no previous study had fully evaluated. TL, that's the person's name, can not only experience her past with total sensory clarity, so she puts them in different rooms. And we'll talk about the rooms in just a second, because I think we just got a podcast here. In fact, this is going to be it. Brandon, you don't have to come back to work next Thursday night, because we're just going to put this on the air. This is it, right? So she can pre-experience her future. What is that? What is pre-experiencing? And I suggest to you, it's intuition. So we as human beings pack all of our experience. So a cop knows that when this situation happens, they see the alignment of the patterns that match what happened before, this might happen next. And we're all constantly reacting to what we think is about to happen. In fact, there's been studies that you answer in your brain way before you actually answer by acting, because you got to process. In a long conversation I had is like, I can't process what you just said. When I was explaining to Andy on the AI Salon, we were talking about all these projects. And I was going through all my 10 moonshot projects, right? One after another. I was like, I've been studying for this and it's compacted in my head. It came out like a fire hose, right? So she said, I can't even comprehend what you just said. Like, I'm going to need a year to unpack all the baggage you put on me at once, right? So the fire hose thing is something I'm working on because, yeah, I mean, so this document, and the reason why I'm so interested in unpacking it is this. This is the baggage. This is my carry-on for the rest of my life. This is Noah's Ark. Let me let you sit with that word for just a minute. Imagine that you came to this epiphany moment at 7 o'clock in the morning. After 3 hours, I got up at 5, and I kept going till 7. Then I produced this. Then I started sending it to all my friends. I'm like, my friends are like, "What the hell, man? It's Valentine's Day. We don't want to do this." But pack your bags for today and tomorrow. Pack them with the generous spirit of giving and loving everybody. Doing things for people that you'll never know and never see. That's the seed you plant for the future 7 generations in the future who will unpack it. My students, seeds. I'll never get to enjoy the rich, beautiful tree that they sit under and tend to their flock or their herd or their people. In the communion with other people, I don't know. My students that go on a mission to Mars, I have no idea what the shade of a tree on Mars looks like. But I imagine if they take with them the seeds that I planted here today, the Noah's Ark of packing just the bags that will fit on a Noah's Ark. I think that's a big metaphor. And God, oh my God, I'm going to have to call this Noah's Ark. What would you pack for Noah's Ark? There's your question. What would you pack for Noah's Ark? So if you were to start your whole life having everything you've ever done, and you could put it in a document like this, with basically the architecture of what's next. So here's what I have in my bag. I am born of service to the world, to make it a better world, to think not only of my own, my communities, my loved ones, but the entire planet, all the animals, the ecosystem that surrounds it, the rain, the water. We're all part of a whole on a swirling blue little dot, unspeakably small in the all of it all. And we sit here and we think about, where am I going to go eat? We have absolute abundance in America. If you're listening to this podcast, you've got a laptop or a phone or something like that no one for centuries has had that. And there's half the planet that doesn't even have close to the kind of absolute abundance. I just ordered 7 things from Amazon that arrived yesterday after overnight from all corners of the planet. That's AI. So we got to have a rocket ship because we got to have one to go where we're about to go. But the grasp is yours. So if you're born of absolute love for humanity, you design, as your purpose-built purpose on life is, to find your ikigai. What's my why? Why was I born differentiated from every other person? Why did Noah and his wife have those 2 wonderful Naomi and Noah as children? And what will they become? They are the packing of the bags. And if carefully crafted in the way that you raise them and give them love and give them agency, give them the autonomy to think differently, to understand foundationally what it is to be a human and grow up. And that's what I was gifted. My dad was the person who taught me, as he sacrificed his uncle, his brother, Benjamin, to World War II to stop the evil. Talking about the good trouble, necessary trouble, that was required. He was 21 years old and he died. In the last 3 years, he had a full scholarship to Harvard University, and he died in the last 3 months. And the letters written back to his mother, my grandmother. He was the oldest of 14 children. 2 were lost at birth, another one about 3 years later. It was tough times. They were filthy rich, and one of the third ships coming over from Ireland, called the Friendship, according to Ancestry.com, as I've been able to figure out so far. Still working on that. We were privileged. In 1929, stock market crashed, and they pretty much lost everything. They had 3 apartment buildings, which my grandfather did not collect rent on. In the times that were so tough, he just let the people live there, and of course that ruined him. He had a paint store, sold paints. Anyway, but the point is, how are you going to spend your time? Are you willing to sacrifice it all? Take a grenade for someone? Literally, that's how he passed away. He took a great grenade because I am not born with rights. I am born with the privilege to earn them, though, as he did, in the most profound way. So my dad, of course, went to fought in Korea. They didn't even call it a war. It was a police action. But there were people dying there. In fact, his job was to pack the dead bodies and ship them back home. So you think you have rights just because you're born? You showed up? Do you think that football team from wherever is your team? Did you sit on the field and do that? No, you're born with the most important word I'm going to say out of this entire thing: responsibilities. The responsibility is to show up and be the best version of yourself every day for everybody around you. To show up every day. Boy, this sounds like the beginning of a church. I hope I get a lot of followers. Because as John Lennon says, imagine a world. So beautiful indeed. Everyone born of responsibilities, being the better version of themselves, figuring out what their ikigai is, and being that thing for all others, with no expectation of return on investment. That seed I plant, I'm never going to take the fruit from it, but I plant it anyway, because I was born with the responsibility to think about what my ancestors, 7 generations forward, will think and remember. And if I get the opportunity, like Martin Luther King and other great people throughout history, to be known forever, to live as starlight, to generate a spirit of understanding, to be the stars and the constellations that we organize and structure, and we think about, what did that person do? And how can I be like that person? The inspiration is what they are. And we talked about this before, but the Jewish people, at every celebration of family, they say the names of those who have passed, because they are stars. They are the stars that led to the stardust that we are becoming. And if you lead your 9 lives, this is my 9 Lives song that I came up with exactly from the story idea, right? Is that every person who become a star has 8 events in their life that foundationally breaks them, humbles them to their core. For me, it was getting fired. For me, it was 2 marriages broken at the last second. I didn't even know or expect. Get down 7, fall down 7, get up the 8th. Keep getting back up, keep getting back up, keep getting back up. These are all Japanese philosophies. So the idea of being born of responsibility is that Iroquois nation confederacy, who spoke to Benjamin Franklin and also spoke to Jefferson as they wrote, "We are the people, we the people of the United States of America." Inalienable rights. They're inalienable, but they must be earned. And that's my suggestion to us, is that, damn it, if this isn't just a time where you just feel like it's all being wiped out and all wrong. Every day I wake up and I just can't. For those of you who are off Facebook right now, I'll make sure this gets to you somehow. I'm going to get this played on something. I'm going to pay time to have this reach everybody, especially to those ones that are trying to heal in the sight of it. For those marchers on All Kings Day, that's the good trouble. You're doing the right thing. You're taking your responsibility seriously to stop what we all know is wrong. There's no question. We got 10 commandments and 7 deadly sins and a bunch of other things. Every religion has condemned what we are right now as a government. Anyway, getting on with the idea of it. So think about that future and think about how one of the first steps that I might suggest you do is create your memories, and the ones that are bad, put them in a cool-off room. So pack it. When you go to therapy, as I've been through therapy with 3 different women, I've been intimately in their environment. I came to speak as a helper along the way to healing. Had to go back through and re-feel. In fact, it's devastating to watch. They had to relive every one of the events that happened to them, the beatings, the sexual abuse, and unspeakable things that other humans did to them. This is the 2-part kintsugi episode here right now. The kintsugi idea is that you have a vessel, let's call it your glass of water, your cup of water, the drink of life. And you should be like water. And the idea is that when someone broke you, you have to carefully craft, and this is the therapy that I'm just suggesting here, with gold, meaning time, effort, value, attention. You have to do the hard work. You've got to unpack it so that you can then move forward, knowing that that is not defining me. The event that others did to me never defines me, except to make me more powerful in knowing what I can do about everybody else's pain. I might be the space of healing. I might be the empathy. It may build in me an empathy far beyond someone who has not experienced that pain could ever imagine. And I might, as one woman who I knew for a while, she was part of a cult and she went through this process. She's now a rape counselor. And she's also working with a nationwide group to getting people out of these cults into a rich and healthy life. She is taking the pain that started her life against her will and turning it into beauty and healing. If you want to know what your purpose in life is, that's it for her. Maybe you got something else. So everything that's human, if AI takes our job, take it. If it was called a job and not a calling, then you've been doing the wrong thing all your life. I want you to wake up, people. Find your calling. What are you going to grasp at? What are you born to do? And then find out who needs that. Who needs that? Someone who's been raped needs that. Someone who's been abused needs that. Someone who doesn't have anybody else to turn to needs that. And if it's a person you love, be there, present, as the greatest gift of all, the present of your presence. Oh, shit, this is getting deep. Whew. Somebody tell me a joke right now. So anyway, then she puts them into these different things.
I was just gonna ask you if there were any lobsters on the ark.
In fact, I thought about, why is this lobster thing so interesting to me? And I figured that out too. They're molting. They're evolving. And they get new skin. Noah's Ark, new skin. This is the metaphor world of my brain. This is how I think. Yeah, I'm jumping. I'm exhibiting right now the synesthesia of thinking. And that is to transform Noah, your son's name, into the beautiful story of who you are. Wow, I just kind of wrapped this up. My mind is blown right now, right? And I'm doing this, I'm vibe coding this for real right now. This is just, I was ready for it. Genius awaits the prepared mind. And the prepared mind is 66 years, baby. And it's just wow. Okay, so we got Noah, we got a vessel. You are water, right? All this makes sense to me now. And the robots, the lobsters, which there's lots and lots of water. I'm going to go deeper because there's something else going on here. There's a reason why I bought these stupid things. I mean, they were $9, so it's like not. But I'm going to send them out to people because what Lobster bot, and that's what I'm calling it, not Clawbot, not Open Claw, whatever, tells us about it is, imagine that you let all your 1,000 brains, like lobsters, here you go. Here, let's see if this metaphor works or not, right? We're going to see if I really am Aristotle's idea of a genius. People who can use metaphor, that's what he said, right? Is people who use metaphor effectively are a good sign of genius because you're able to leap and embed within the context of a lobster. I'm going to tell you why a lobster is the embodiment of everything. So we need to be a better version of ourselves every day. So your skin, it molts off like a molting lobster. You get a new carcass. You cut a claw off, it grows one back. That's why we can enjoy lobster claws well, down here in Florida we can. So what it also talks about is this autonomousness, the ability to be an agent for your own good. And you can release all of these lobster bots. And this is what I'm going to start calling agents in the AI terms, right? They're lobsters that you let go out there. And they're going to do these little tasks. And you got to make sure that they're safe, right? So absolutely do not, unless you are a board certified genius when it comes to AI, do not create one of these claw bots, open claws. Don't do it. I thought about it, but then I watched a couple of shows and I ain't there, right? Maybe if I had like 10 of my friends like Brandon and 10 other people, we could maybe make it. But then you got to direct it, right? So you are Steven Spielberg. So you're responsible for what happens.
So here's the thing, Rick.
Yeah.
There is a thing called myclaw.ai.
Oh.
And it was promoted by Robert Scoble, where they do all the heavy lifting for you. You just pay a monthly subscription fee, and they spin up a virtual machine that is yours. You connect your Claude to it, but then you can run ClaudeBot virtually on a remote server without any of the technical setup or scariness.
Okay, someone's always going to find a way to make that pay off, right? Right. So people are going to make money on it. So a multitude on the ark. Oh, I love that, Claire. That's it, right? A multitude. So let's go back to the metaphor of Noah's Ark because I love this, and I'm going to make a children's book out of this. There's definitely a children's book, and it's going to call Noah's New Ark in the AI world. Let me see if I can put this together. Okay, so a young boy named Noah was growing up in a world with his father named Brandon. You could use this too if you want to. It's going to be recorded. I'll send you all the recordings and stuff. So he's brought up in a world with Brandon, who teaches his son proudly every day of the things of the world, about the history of his family, where he comes from. It gives him ground on which to stand solid and proud. It sends him on adventures to make music using AI, because it is that friendly little robot. It's R2D2, and it's so cute. And he's 5 years old, and he's just absolutely pure human. in every way. Biological messiness. I'm sure changing his diapers was no treat, right? The wake up nights, etc. But he's an investment of such value. So if your whole goal is to find out who you are, what you're meant to be, Noah grows up knowing who he is, what he's meant to be, and you carefully craft because you know him from all his life, you know. And so we're preparing for a time where the world isn't safe. We're preparing for a time where we need to build an ark, not a physical one, but one of our mindset, where we don't protect our children from the evils, but we help them understand how and why that became. And then to build them with what religions have been trying to do forever is a set of principles that guide you. The Ten Commandments is pretty good until you see our president break every single damn one of them over and over again. And people celebrate that. You know what good and evil is. I mean, it's a construct, heaven and hell. You create a heaven on earth by getting on the ark with your family, and you keep them tight and protected until they're ready to engage with the different levels of what the world has to offer. You don't let your kid go on a first date and drive a car at age 4, 5. So what you do is you embed in them, as my Imagine book actually does. So the idea of the Imagine book, and I'll use Noah because I want it to be everybody's story. So Noah goes to bed, and Brandon and your wife, you read a beautiful story, one that you've written probably, because it'll have all the stuff they need. And Noah the next day has to sing or play the piano. Let's say that he has a piano. He's got to get in front of the people. He's been studying piano for a while, and all of a sudden, I think he's too young. I don't know. Is he? Is there anything like that he's doing, Brandon? So let's make this story for real. Is there any kind of lessons he's taking? Well, let's use this one for just a bit. He's a singer, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. He's 5 years old. He likes to sing, and we just got him a little keyboard for his birthday.
Oh, okay.
This was
All
his
right.
birthday this week.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so let's go to a little bit later to his 10th birthday, and he's been taking piano lessons since 5 to 10 years old. So he's getting really good, right? And the next day he has to do a performance. So this is the book you read that night, and it's about this little girl called what's her name, ballerina. I forget the real book's name, so I'm going to make a fictitious one. But it's about this
Laura,
ballerina.
Naomi?
Yeah, Naomi the ballerina.
Lisa.
Oh, there we go. Naomi the ballerina. Let's do that. Let's make it you'll write books back and forth between them. Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm actually in the process of rewriting it without using anybody else's intellectual property. I'm going to write all 12 books in the 13th book, and then a workbook is a 14th book, which is anyway. We'll talk about that later. But so here's what happens. So you read a story about Naomi, his sister, who is taking ballet lessons, and she worked and she became a ballerina on a public stage, getting paid to be a great ballerina. And the story is about how she didn't believe she could do it. And then dad said, you just got to go do it again and again. And he paid all the money to get all the lessons to find the best place where she could become, right? So Naomi has become. And the journey on the way to becoming is what? All the heartache, the times that she broke her toe and she had to sit with a cast and the people signed it and then the time that she got back up anyway. And she got to where she got so good that she did it so many times, it was muscle memory. So she put in her 10,000 hours is what I'm getting to. And after reading this story, the cat, or in your case, a dog, is also laying behind and hearing this story. And the dog thinks in his head, whoa, I sing along with Noah whenever he plays the piano. Maybe I could play the piano too. And then dad says, you know what? I really love that you're taking piano lessons and I love to hear you play. But can you get your dog to stop singing? Because he's just not good at it. So that night, when he goes to bed, the lights go off and dad says his goodnight kisses and hugs. And he walks out. Noah's thinking about the piano recital he has to give the next morning. And he thinks, oh my God, I can't do this. There's going to be 25 people in the audience, all the parents and all the, I think I'm going to forget this. I don't know if I could do it. And then he goes to sleep. And so his dog and he go through a magic portal to dreams. This magic portal is made out of a giant circular portal to the other world made of books, all the books that he's read. So when he's thinking and he goes through, the dog says, and the dog is a scaredy dog. I have a scaredy cat in mine. And the dog says, oh my God, it's dark in here. I don't want to go in here. And Noah says, yeah, it's okay. Remember, every time we've gone through here, it's always been something really cool. It's always kind of fun. And so they walk through to this giant meadow, and it's just completely dark. There's nothing there. They can kind of make out, the grass underneath their feet, and they see something in the distance that looks like maybe the start of the moon or something. And they walk out there, and then all of a sudden, this keyboard appears in front of them. And he says back to the dog, hey, you got to come with me. What's the keyboard doing here? And so he goes over, and the dog says, oh, you know what? I think this is one of those lessons, one of those things that we are supposed to do, right? Isn't that what the magic portal is? This is where we get to think about stuff. And he says, you know what? The dog says, why don't you prepare for your recital tomorrow? Why don't you play a little song and see what it sounds like? And as soon as he does, out of the instrument comes not only a beautiful music, but stars. And they light the entire sky. And Noah plays longer and longer. And he smiles. And the dog starts to sing. And, Noah could hear Dad saying, can you get the dog not to sing along with you? Thinking about Kyle Shannon's dog right now. And he says, no, it's good. Why don't you sing? And more stars fill the sky. So the next morning, Noah and his dog are allowed to go up on stage as he sits down to play. And he remembers this memory of what happened the night before. How his dad said, just keep practicing. Just keep practicing. You're going to get there. I'm going to be so happy for you because you're going to earn it. You're going to have put in the work to get it done. Don't forget, keep practicing. And so there he is, and he plays beautifully. The dog is at his feet, curled up underneath the piano. His parents are so proud. His sister, Naomi, is sitting there, remembering that she helped write the book about Naomi's story, that his brother got to read and inspired the next generation to keep practicing to be a better version of ourselves every day, with the agency and the power that if you have a fear, it can lead to the solution that you're looking for, that your pain can be what your purpose built on earth to stop being so devastating to others, that you can be the world, and you can teach your children and raise them well to know that they have the power against all fear to make something so beautiful by becoming. And a children's book is not much. It's a few hours every night, or even 20 minutes. It's a short little journey into calming down and relaxing and going into the dream state in which our dreams come true, because we take fears and anger and all the things, sleep it off. But we don't sleep it off in the way of passivity. We direct our dreaming to a world that's more beautiful than we ever imagined. We take fear and we turn it into beauty. We take pain and we turn it into beauty. We take everything and we turn it into living starlight. And we train our kids well. Our children are 7 generations forward thinkers. Naomi's children's children will enjoy the seed of that book you planted. And I hope they enjoy the financial rewards of the gift it means for those who get to read it. And I want to call this first book Noah's Book. It's the building of Noah's Ark. I am Noah. I am Noah. And I'm not the only one.